Local Matters, the official Laverne podcast. I'm Anne Smith, Public Information Officer for the City of Laverne. Today I have with me Laverne's Fire Marshal, Curtis Brinkley. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me a little about yourself. How long have you worked here?
I've been in my current role as a fire marshal for 7 years. Started the fire service in 1998 as a firefighter. I got hired on full-time with Laverne back when it was an incorporated, a private company in 2001, I believe. Stayed here as a firefighter, promoted up, became a driver, a lieutenant. Then decided I wanted to pursue fire investigations. So that took me on a path of law enforcement to get certified as a police officer. Did that for several years and then had an opportunity to apply for the fire marshal position once the city took over the fire services, and I was honored enough to get the job, and that was 7 years ago. So here I am.
Tell me a little bit about kind of your day-to-day and what the fire marshal's office really does before we hop into the national preparedness stuff.
Yeah, so the fire marshal's office traditionally has always been fire codes, fire prevention. In today's society, and it kind of plays hand in hand in what we're talking about today, the days of stop, drop, and roll, they're still there, but that's not all we focus on. Most fire departments, including ours, are transitioning into what's called community risk reduction efforts. So CRR has a wide spectrum of what it covers. We're no longer just focusing on fire prevention. 2 ways out, close the door, stop, drop, and roll, call 911, all vital and critical things for the citizens to know. But we also look into other aspects. Some we'll talk about today, I'm sure, emergency preparedness for storms, even down to intoxicated driving, how that can be hazardous because we respond to the vehicle crashes and so forth. But the day-to-day operations for me personally, I supervise the community risk reduction, so all fire code enforcement for the fire codes, day-to-day inspections, fire investigations, community outreach, public education, things like this, and on top of just some administrative duties within the fire department itself.
Great. Well, let's hop into the National Preparedness Month topic, which is obviously what we're here to talk about. September kicks off National Preparedness Month, and in Laverne, we're focusing on giving our residents and our community members some things that they can really think about and do ahead of kind of, if you will, our stormy season as we begin to wrap up summer. So tell me what some of the bigger threats are for our community when it comes to national preparedness. I think a lot of people think tornadoes right off the bat, but there's a lot more to consider than just that.
Yeah, so obviously tornadoes are an issue, right? It seems like Tennessee has fallen into a tornado alley over the last decade. We've had some significant storms that has come through our area. So tornadoes definitely are, something to be concerned about. But Laverne's a very unique city in the aspects of what we have inside our city limits. So, we have I-24. That's a major corridor that runs through the state of Tennessee. A lot of transportation runs through there. A lot of hazardous materials goes through I-24. With that, you have the potential of accidents. You have potential of spills. Those can all be, pretty catastrophic events for people that live near I-24. Obviously, I don't want to make it out that, if you live towards I-24, it's doom and gloom. But those are things that we need to pay attention to. We have a lot of industrial complexes in Laverne, which also have some pretty hefty chemicals and hazardous materials that in the event of a fire or certain damaging winds that buildings could collapse, there's a potential for incidents to occur from those. We also have a major rail system that runs through the city of Laverne. A lot of people just see the boxcars and maybe frown upon having to stop at a railroad crossing from time to time, but there's a lot of stuff that's carried on the rail system. The federal government does a wonderful job keeping that stuff as safe and as contained as possible, but it still can happen. And if you look into history, there's been incidences across smaller cities, smaller than ours, that have had some major incidences occur due to car crashes on highways, due to buildings that have caught on fire and emits large amount of hazardous smoke. Things of that nature. So, yeah, Laverne's got its potentials. I think we do a good job trying to prepare for all of those from an emergency response standpoint. But we can only do so much. The citizens also have to understand that there's some preparedness that they can take part in.
So, before we sat down to talk, I was doing some research, and emergency go kits are a really important thing to consider having in your vehicles. Can you walk me through what those kind of look like? If I wanted to build an emergency go kit for my car, what should I be prepared for? What should I have in there?
Yeah, so a lot of it's going to be dependent upon who's in that vehicle, right? Every family's dynamics are different. Do you have children? Are you an older adult? Do you have older adults that's riding with you? Are you by yourself? We always recommend that you have 72 hours worth of supplies in a vehicle. First aid kits, minor things, right? You don't have to have a full fallout, I'm going to brace a leg. Neosporin, alcohol wipes, Band-Aids, small things like that. Medication, right? We always recommend if you are an individual that has to take medication, have 72 hours worth of medication in your car, things that people don't think about. But your first aid, your medication, have some extra water. Keep you a gallon of water in there. Keep you some non-perishable snacks, granola bars, things of that nature. Keep all of that there. If you are an older adult, you may need to have some additional resources. You want to have a list of all of your contacts. Now, today's time, most people have all of that in their phones, but it's okay to have an additional list of contact information, especially if we pull up and there's been an incident. I may not know how to get in your phone, but if we see something that has contacts, then obviously we can start contacting, relatives and such. So your go kits, it's really dependent upon your needs and what an individual can prepare for. Flashlights. If it's summertime, you may have to alternate that kit through seasonal changes, right? In the summer, you may want maybe 2 gallons of water. Some clothes that may be cooler. If you're, constantly traveling in business attire, you don't want to be stranded in, what weather we have today in a suit and tie. You may want to have a change of clothes, at least a T-shirt, a pair of shorts, something that's going to be adequate for the weather. If it's wintertime and you're running a quick errand and your car breaks down, you don't want to be stranded in a pair of shorts. You're just running into a convenience store. You don't have a blanket. Have some sweats in there. So it's really dependent upon, how in depth the person wants to go and the needs of the individual. But the items mentioned would be the minimum that we would suggest someone having.
So what about at home? What are some of the best things to consider to keep in stock at home when you're thinking supply kits?
A lot of it's going to be the same. Water. We recommend 1 gallon of water per person per day to drink. We obviously are in a city, so we have municipal water. If there are people that have other means of water, purification tablets, things of that nature. Food supplies, again, going to be non-perishable foods. Having the storage resources at homes, you're going to be able to, obviously keep more canned foods, soups, beans, vegetables, dried foods, pastas, rice, beans, peanut butter, high energy snacks, things of that nature. If you really want to go all out, you can get like the freeze-dried, dehydrated stuff. I mean, they come in prepackaged meals. We're not talking about preppers, right? We're just talking about being prepared. It's a big difference between, people that want to prep for a specific situation versus, hey, we just encourage you to be prepped and prepared. Even down to comfort foods, right? If we're in a situation that your power's out for a long period of time, you want to make sure that life is still somewhat normal. So having some comfort foods such as chocolate, coffees, teas, things of that nature. And then obviously the essentials that you need for those. Can opener. If the power's out and you have an electric can opener, you're not going to be able to open a can. Having something simple as just a dollar's, can opener that's manual, you can open that stuff up. Again, you want your first aid equipment, same stuff, variety of bandages, gauze, tapes, wipes, scissors, thermometers, things of that nature, any over-the-counter medication that you would normally take, Tylenol, aspirin, seasonal allergy, stuff like that. You want to make sure you have a lot of that. That can at least get you through a week to 2 weeks period in the event that you are stuck at home. You take seasonal allergies and you weren't able to get to the store, you have some of that stuff on hand. And then obviously your personal hygiene stuff. Make sure you have, bars of soap, things that you're going to need for every day. That's kind of what we recommend people having it at the home stored up.
So you mentioned preppers, and that was going to be kind of my next point. When we're talking about car supply kits and home supply kits, we're not talking about doomsday prepping. We're talking about reasonable amounts of items that are going to keep you and your family safe in the event of a snowstorm or in the event of shelter in place due to, like you said, hazardous materials or whatever the case may be. We're just talking about reasonable amounts of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that goes back to saying we want you to be prepared, not prepping, and I use that term lightly, right? Not to take away from some people's ideas that they feel that they need to prepare for, and that's completely fine. But from an emergency standpoint, most of your emergency situations, are going to be stabilized within max 2 weeks. That's hopefully sooner than that, within hours. But most of them, if you look at it traditionally speaking, most are stabilized within 2 weeks. And so that's kind of what we gear our prep for, right? We want you to be practical in preparing. When you look at the doomsdays, that's long term. Sometimes highly unlikely events, catastrophic events, social collapse, things of that nature. That's more of your doomsday stuff. We're looking more of emergency. Power outages for a long time, flooding, things of that nature. You're snowed in. It may not necessarily snow in our area, but you may have ice to where you can't even travel. So being prepared for those type of things, so 72 hours to 2 weeks, that's what we're looking at as far as being prepared for.
What are some important things to think about when we're considering our younger and older generations? Because everyone's needs look very different depending on what stage of life you're in. I think a lot of the things that you've mentioned already are great for your average person, but like I said, younger and older generations have more to consider.
Yeah, so when we look at our younger generation, specifically kids, what's going to keep life as normal as possible? I'm a father, you're a mother. We know what our children need that's comforting to them. We know what our children need for day-to-day living needs. Whether you have an infant and it's formula, you want to make sure you have formula on hand. You want to make sure you have extra bottles on hand. If you have a child that is comforted by a specific blanket or certain types of toys, you want to make sure you have not just a huge supply of toys, right? I'm not saying prepare an additional toy room for kids, but having some small items on hand that's going to normalize life for a short duration for children. You want that stuff. Child-friendly snacks, and you can even get that stuff that's non-perishable, things that they like that will, make them a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes even adults, but more often you'll see childhood allergies to where they may not have grown out of those things yet. So you want to make sure the perishable items that you have are not going to affect any type of allergies. And that can be critical in adults too, when you're buying these kits or prepared foods specifically to make sure they're not going to cause any type of allergic reactions, because all that's going to do is compound a bad situation into a worse. Contact cards. If you have children, you want to make sure you have up-to-date photos. It's not a bad idea to have a little bag with information for your children. If you get separated, you have photos in your Go kit that you're going to have access to, that you can show to local emergency services. Hey, I can't find my child. This is who she or he is. This is the name. This is the information. Everything that you need to show a rescuer, this is who we need to look for, things of that nature. Any type of medical information, allergies, a list of the medication. Sometimes, younger children have a list of medications they have to take that's detrimental to health and safety. So you definitely want to make sure you have that stuff on hand. So again, a lot of it's really similar to what you're going to prepare for an adult. It's just specific needs for that individual. And it's really critical that a family sits down, or an individual, and determine what special needs we may have. And the same applies for our older adults. Some older adults need, help walking. Do they have an extra walking cane? Do they have an extra walker? Let's say they're confined to an electric, mobility device, like electric wheelchair of some type. How is that going to be mobile if the power's outage and you can't charge batteries? Do you have a standard wheelchair, folded somewhere that person can become mobile with? Again, medication, special foods. Sometimes older adults can't handle other foods, so you want to make sure that the processed foods that you purchase, especially if they're in some type of prepared kit, that they're going to be able to handle that type of food. So it's really one of those you have to sit down because not every one individual is going to be the same, right?
Actually consider the needs for that particular individual.
Yes, 100%. So can we have a generic idea? Yes. And I think what we've talked about so far is a great start on having that, but knowing what each individual needs are is something that you really need to look into. Don't be generic. Don't go out and just buy this one kit and assume that it's going to be okay. If you're really wanting to prepare for an emergency event, from 72 hours to the 2-week time frame, look at what you're buying. Make sure it's going to be conforming to the needs of your family or yourself, from anything from allergic things that could possibly occur down to, is this even going to be tasty enough for my kids to eat? I don't want my kids, that's why you may want to look at buying something else for your kids as non-perishable. So yeah, definitely case by case, individual by individual is what you want to look at.
So let's talk about emergency plans. I think that pretty much everyone knows the 2 Ways Out campaign, knowing how to escape your home in the event of disaster. But what else should people consider when they're making emergency plans?
Yeah, so it's really going to be knowing the risk of your area. So if you live closer to I-24 and you know that there's potential for a hazardous materials release, then you may want to have ways to roll up cloths, put underneath your door in case you get notified for shelter in place. Have some fans set aside somewhere if it's extremely hot outside and you get an emergency notification to turn off your ventilation system and you have to shut off your air conditioner in a heat wave like today. You want to have some type of air flowing inside your house. So you can't open your windows. We're going to have some type of circulation. Having some, box fans or even little portable fans that are capable to store to where they're not just in your way, but you also have access to them in the event that you need something like that. Look at your own home. Are my windows old? Do they even seal? Not everybody can afford to go buy new windows. I understand that. But are there ways that you can seal those windows? If you have old windows, it may be something as simple as buying some boards. We so often see it in a hurricane-affected areas where they're boarded up windows. There's nothing to say you can't do that in a tornado. Wind speeds, you have debris flying everywhere. Even in, it's unpredictable on a tornado path. You'll see one house that's completely demolished and another one that looks pristine, but you still have flying debris everywhere. Those boards may be a waste of time, but you may be the home that it just has flying debris, and you've saved yourself a lot of heartache and hardships by boarding up stuff if you know a storm's getting ready to come. The biggest thing for us is communication. Knowing how to communicate during an emergency. Where are you going to go? Especially in a fire, right? We teach this from kindergarten all the way up to even young adults. Where are you going to meet at? If you have to evacuate your house, where are you going to go? Because the last thing we want to do from a firefighter standpoint is pull up to a house and we ask, is everyone out? And we get to answer, I don't know. We want you to know. We want you to be able to say, yes, everyone's out. Because if not, then the first thing we're going to do is go into rescue mode. And we're going to start sending our personnel in to look for individuals in a highly dangerous situation. And obviously that's part of our job, but we want to make sure that when we send our employees in, that we're sending them in for the right reasons and not just to search a vacant house. We want to make sure that we know. So communication is key in all aspects. If there's a tornado, Know where you're going to go in your home. Make that a practice. Look at those things and don't just guess. Well, let's just run to this bathroom real quick. Do your due diligence. Walk around your house. Make sure you know where you're going to go in certain places. So communicate that internally in your home to where your children know. If you have parents that live with you, they know. If you have older adults that can't walk, who's going to help them in the middle of the night if tornado alarms go off? Communicate and have multiple ways. That's the biggest thing, is have multiple ways if possible, whether it be phones, whether it be emails, whatever the case may be. Just have ways to communicate and be prepared on where you're going to go is the biggest thing.
And I think on the same note of communication, one thing that the City of Laverne Fire Department offers is Community Connect. And I think this is maybe a great opportunity to talk a little bit about that. It's essentially an internet-based program that allows you to put information in that is specific to your home in the event of an emergency.
Community Connect is a wonderful tool, and we're one of the few departments. Actually, we may be the only one in Rutherford County that uses it. Community Connect allows homeowners to create an account. It's completely secure, right? So when you create this account, the only people that can see it are emergency responders, specifically from Laverne Fire. So the concept is, if I'm responding to 123 John Doe Street, obviously we have electronic devices in all of our apparatus. So when a call comes in, our fire personnel is able to get information presented to them live time through dispatch and be able to see, what they're getting reported into, whether it's a fall, whether it's a fire, whether we have, down power lines. They're able to get specific information. Community Connect goes a step further. It allows the homeowner to put in information. You can go take pictures of your house, take pictures of your animals. Tell us how many animals you have. Tell us how many people you have in your house. Tell us where the bedrooms are. What type of cars would be in the driveway if everyone's at home. So when we respond to that specific location and we get this information live time, we know, okay, well, this homeowner has 2 animals, 2 dogs, for example, and there's 2 vehicles, a white truck and a white car, or a red car and a green truck, whatever. And we pull up and we see no one outside the house. We see no animals, but we see the described vehicles. Automatically, that's going to put us in a mode of, we need to get inside. We need to ensure that no one's inside, and if they are, we need to get them out. We immediately in the rescue mode. Versus not having that information, we may not know. Hazards in the house. Does a person, rely on oxygen? That's a critical thing for a firefighter to know. Oxygen can be, a bad thing inside of a fire. So, if you have people that rely on oxygen and you have a supply of oxygen tanks in a garage, putting that information in is just going to be helpful to us. So Community Connect is an extremely, extremely valuable resource that I think is underused. We try to get it out as much as possible. And I would encourage anyone that lives in the city to look it up. Like I said, the information, you can put as much or as little as you want to in it. Obviously, we encourage you to put as much. It's just going to be helpful to us, but it's all private. We're not asking for your birthdays. We're not asking for, personal information. It's just general information that will help us in the event we have to respond to your house. Even a picture. It allows you to upload a picture of your house. So many times we're driving down the road and you can't tell what address is what because it's not posted anymore. The numbers have faded off the mailbox. Over the years, people have taken them off or they fell off, and we're trying. But if there's this house right here. I know this is this house. This is the one that popped up. Oh, there's 2 cars there. We can immediately start going into forward thinking on what we need to do from an emergency response aspect.
Yeah, and like you said, it's very secure. I think that the company that Community Connect first do.
Yeah, first do.
Mm-hmm. I think they equate the security level of Community Connect to be the same as if you were doing online banking. So it's very secure for your family's information, and on top of that, it's completely free. I think you may have to do an update every 6 months just so that we know the information's up to date. But it is a great program, and definitely want the citizens to know about that and make sure that if you can sign up for it, we would love you to.
Yeah. And there's other alert systems out there that can alert you to things also. Community Connect isn't so much an alert system as it is an informational database that's provided to emergency responders, specifically in Laverne, because that's what we have access to. But there's other things that our community members can sign up for that actually provide them alerts and things that, will give them real time, hey, be on watch of this. And, I'll happily discuss some of those if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so, the first one that comes to mind is Alert Rutherford. Most of these are ran through the EMA department, the Emergency Management Association for Rutherford County. Alert Rutherford is an official emergency notification system for Rutherford County. It provides severe weather alerts, emergencies, and other, critical information that could come out. Obviously, excuse me, you can look at the NOAA weather radios. A lot of people don't, use those anymore, but with the digital world now, sometimes phones may not, be useful.
If a tower goes down.
100%, and if you're looking at, we'll just say the tornado, right? We'll just go to the tornado. It tears down towers. What are you going to do as far as communication and hearing what's going on? A lot of times those FM and AM radios are still working, and the bandwidths that those weather radios run off of are probably some of the most reliable. They're going to keep on, pushing out information. So having that, even let's say the wireless, towers don't go down, you have wireless alerts, emergency alerts, and you can go on your phone and set those. A lot of times people complain about it. 2:00 in the morning, we'll get that loud squelch and don't know what's going on. It could be something like, a TBI Amber Alert. It could be Silver Alert. It could also be weather. Look at your local news channel. Most every local news channel now has some form of phone app that you can sign up for that will give you weather alerts. I know my family uses that. My wife specifically, she has an alert that goes off with our news channel that we watch, and if we get some type of severe weather alert, it's programmed in for our zip code area, and boom, it'll start going off.
Well, and on that note, social media, a lot of the news stations will do live broadcasting to their social media pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just thought of that when you said the mobile app.
Yeah, so, if you're a social media user, follow some of those things. If your phones are still working during, we'll just specifically use a storm event, get on there and look. They give live updates all the time. Like you said, they may even do a live broadcast to where, they're not disrupting your television program, but yet they're doing a live stream and actually giving you up-to-date information. So there's all kinds of apps that you can use. Red Cross has some, FEMA has some. Get on their websites. Do a simple search on a computer, emergency alert applications for phones or emergency alert radios. You'll find all kinds of information, but do it now. Right? That's what we're trying to prepare for. Do it now to where you have all of this stuff ready and in play, and you're not trying to find it, when the sky's, crackling and lightning bolts. That's the whole purpose of this, do your research now, get prepared now. That's the point of preparedness, is being prepared. Don't wait to the last minute. So do your research, find those applications that you want to use. We will help. If someone can't find something or has trouble downloading an app, call us. Call the local fire department. If there's a listener that's not a citizen of Laverne, contact your local law enforcement fire department. See if they can help you. I know we will. It's simple. You just, stop by our station, any of the fire stations. Hey, I need help. Can you help me with this? Some people, including myself at times, is not technically savvy. So, having that extra resource, our personnel help you any day of the week. You just stop by. Hey, need some help? We'll even go out to your house. That's something that you were asking about fire marshal and community risk. That's some of the things that our city is pushing forward to. We have an individual that's a life safety officer that his sole purpose is to educate the community and local businesses. We're not going to go to your house and do an inspection. But if you have questions, we will render the best advice we possibly can off of studies and information that we have on hand to say, hey, your home, this is what I would do, and this is what the recommendations are. We'll come out and do that. It's a simple call and request. We'll come out, hands down, no problems.
And also install fire alarms.
Yes, yeah, for free. That's a super easy thing. That's the Get Alarm program. It's sponsored through the State Fire Marshal's office. They encourage local emergencies fire departments to install alarms. Ours is super simple, thanks to you. You go online, lavernefire.com, you'll see Get Alarmed. You hit that. There'll be a little form electronically that you fill out. It will get sent to our office, and somebody from the fire department will contact you, schedule a time. We'll figure out how many alarms you need. We'll come out, we'll install them, free of charge. It doesn't cost you anything. The state's actually looking into going to carbon monoxide alarms also. And for those that have some hearing impairments, we also have some hearing impaired alarms that we can also get into homes. It's a shaker. It's called a bed shaker. It's very simple. It feeds off of a traditional smoke alarm. So if a normal traditional smoke alarm activates, then there's a system, for lack of better words, that will receive the smoke alarm tone, and then it will provide a shaking box that will essentially vibrate under a mattress, and those that have hearing impairments, it will give them a physical notification versus just, a hearing. It actually, you'll feel it yourself.
And I think you can sign up for that through Community Connect as well. If someone were unable to find it on our website for some reason, if
Yes.
you're also going through Community Connect, you can sign
Yeah,
up for it
absolutely
there.
you can. Community Connect has that also.
Is there anything else that I haven't brought up that you think is important for our listeners to know, or anything preparedness-wise?
No, I just want to emphasize on don't get fixated on finding a kit. Everyone wants to have these go bags and these kits that you can buy online, or this kit has this and these tools, and that could be very useful, right? And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't buy that, especially if you feel that it's going to be useful for your family, but don't get lost in just an everyday kit. Make sure what you're purchasing is going to be form-fitting for your needs. Look at your family, every individual, even pets. We're talking about people. Do you have a surplus of dog food? Do you have a couple of extra cans of food that's non-perishable? Do you have an extra small bag of dry food for your pets? Fish, anything that needs items to survive on a day-to-day basis, you want to make sure you have supplies for that. I know some dogs have allergies, right? You can't just feed a certain animal everyday dog food. You have to, so you want to make sure that what you have in your stockpile is going to be useful for your family's needs. So take the time, evaluate your family, take the time to prepare, buy these kits. That's great. A lot of them come with tools and things that you could possibly use, but just don't get lost in this one kit fits all, because I truly don't think that's out there. I don't. I think you can get a foundation built off of buying some kits, but you also need to remember what your family's needs are and really take the time to evaluate those. And then obviously the communication, knowing how to communicate. And that's from home to another home. I'm not talking about just internal. Obviously you want good communication internally. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do if this type of event occurs? Where are we going to meet? But we all, some of us have family outside, and we all become concerned about them. How are we going to communicate with those families? Family members that may live across town, because the last thing we want you to do from an emergency aspect is get in a car and try to drive through a natural disaster area into another natural disaster area, and it's going to make our situations more complex than what they already are. So having ways of communicate, understanding, set up a guideline. If you haven't heard from me in this many hours, just having those lines of communication established.
And I think too, on that note, it's important to know that, like, if you're ever concerned about the well-being of someone, reach out to their local fire department, reach out to their local police department, let them know that you'd like a welfare check done, and they will do that for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And that's day to day too. You know, that's not just during emergencies. We respond to welfare checks quite often, especially in the medical aspect. Someone that has specific medical needs, a family member may have not heard from, and it's uncommon, call. Law enforcement will go out and check. If it's a need for medical response, we go out, we'll assist. So I can't express enough, utilize your emergency services, right? That's what we're here for. We're taxpayer funded. We are here for our citizens, and even those that may not reside here but travel through here. You know, anyone that's in our city, the city of Laverne, our mission statement is ensuring a safer future for Laverne. It doesn't say ensuring a safer future for Laverne citizens. It says ensuring a safer future for Laverne. That's a mission statement that our personnel came up with, not leadership, not upper management. That's what our firefighting personnel came up with. So that's something that they stand firm on. You know, we want to ensure a safer future for Laverne, whether it's an immediate response, whether it's preparation, whether it's coming to someone's house, whether it's helping them with Community Connect, finding applications, whatever the case may be, we want to do that. So utilize your resources. And if we as a department can't help you with an individual need, we will do everything we can to point you in the right direction. And most of the time, out of my 26 years, there's normally a resource out there that can help aid in whatever the situation may be. So contact us. Absolutely.
I want to thank you for joining me today. We've been talking with Fire Marshal Curtis Brinkley. For more information on National Preparedness Month or what you can do to protect your family, visit fire.lavernetn.gov or follow us on social media. Until next time, I'm Anne Smith. Thanks for joining us.